Ladies and gentlemen, life has a way of pulling us into the tyranny of the urgent. Emails, deadlines, demands that keep our eyes fixed on the immediate. Yet beneath the noise of the present lies a haunting question. Where is all of this taking me? A life without vision drifts like a ship without a rudder, carried by currents it never chose. But a life anchored in purpose, fueled by conviction, and stretched toward a horizon greater than itself becomes unstoppable. The truth is, we are all creating a future, whether consciously or by default. The difference lies in whether that future pulls us with irresistible force or whether we are pushed around by the chaos of circumstance. When you live with a vision so compelling that it seizes your imagination, it begins to rewire how you think, how you act, and how you endure. Obstacles become stepping stones, setbacks become lessons, and resistance becomes confirmation that you are on the right track. Tonight, I want to challenge you not just to dream, but to architect a future so clear and so captivating that it refuses to let you settle for less. A future that pulls you. Vision is not a luxury reserved for dreamers. It is the very compass that gives direction to our lives. Without it, people wander through existence, reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. A man without vision is like a traveler without a map. He may keep moving, but he has no assurance that his steps are carrying him where he truly longs to be. Vision is not merely about ambition or setting goals. It is about seeing beyond the horizon of the present into a reality that is not yet materialized but is already calling you forward. When you carry a clear vision, it begins to function like a magnet. It organizes your decisions, it prioritizes your time, and it energizes your daily actions. The power of vision is that it doesn't simply come from what you want, but from what you believe you were created for. That's why vision, when rooted in truth, will not let you rest in mediocrity. It presses you forward even when others are content to stand still. It whispers in your soul that you are designed for more, and until you embrace that call, restlessness will haunt you. This is why vision must be cultivated with care. If your compass is set a few degrees off, over time you can end up in a completely different destination than intended. A distorted vision can pull you toward destructive pursuits that promise fulfillment but end in emptiness. That is why discernment is essential. The question is not just, do I have a vision, but is my vision worth following? Does it align with truth that transcends me? Because only when vision is anchored in something unshakable can it withstand the storms of life. When challenges come, and they will, vision acts as the stabilizer. It keeps you from being thrown off course when disappointment knocks or when resistance rises. People who live without vision are easily derailed. They surrender at the first sign of hardship. But those with vision understand that difficulty is not a sign to abandon course, but a confirmation that the journey matters. Vision gives pain a purpose and struggle a significance. Vision does not merely serve the one who holds it. It ripples outward, inspiring others. A clear vision has the power to ignite those around you, to breathe courage into weary hearts, and to create momentum that transcends individual effort. History is filled with men and women who were not the strongest, not the wealthiest, but who carried a vision so alive that it altered the course of nations. They allowed the future they saw to become the force that drew them forward, and in doing so, they pulled countless others with them. So the challenge is simple yet profound. Cultivate a vision that compels you. Let it be larger than comfort, deeper than personal gain, and stronger than fear. Because once you grasp such a vision, you will no longer need to push yourself into the future. The future itself will pull you. A future that truly pulls you cannot be built upon temporary gains or passing desires. It must be anchored in purpose that reaches beyond the boundaries of time. The danger of living only for the immediate is that even when you achieve what you sought, the satisfaction fades quickly. Wealth, status, recognition, these may provide a momentary sense of fulfillment, but they are fragile foundations, unable to withstand the tests of time, let alone eternity. If your life's direction is determined only by what benefits you in this fleeting moment, then your vision will collapse the instant circumstances change. But when your purpose is grounded in something that transcends the temporary, you gain stability and clarity no storm can erode. Every generation is tempted to believe that purpose is self-defined, that we can create meaning by sheer willpower. Yet history is littered with the ruins of such attempts. Entire civilizations have risen on the promises of ideologies that seemed unshakable but crumbled because they lacked eternal substance. This reminds us that true purpose is not invented, but discovered. It is written into the fabric of our existence, a calling embedded deep within us. When we align with that higher design, our lives take on weight and significance that cannot be measured by the applause of men or the accumulation of things. Anchoring your purpose in eternity transforms how you interpret your present circumstances. Suddenly, hardships are no longer random interruptions, but necessary chapters in a larger narrative. Trials refine your character. Detours redirect your steps toward what truly matters. This shift in perspective is crucial because without it, life's difficulties can appear meaningless and crushing. But when viewed through the lens of eternal purpose, even suffering becomes a tool that shapes you for the destiny ahead. Furthermore, living with an eternal anchor prevents compromise. When you know your purpose is tied to something greater than the shifting tides of culture, you stop negotiating with convenience. You stop asking, "What will this cost me today?" and instead ask, "Will this matter forever?" That question changes everything. It infuses your choices with conviction, your work with excellence, and your relationships with intentionality. You realize that you are not merely surviving the present, but sowing into a future that stretches beyond your lifetime. The remarkable thing is that people who live with eternity in view often become the most impactful in the here and now. Because their lives are not consumed with chasing shadows, they can pour themselves into what truly endures: truth, love, integrity, service. And though they may not always see the full harvest of their efforts, they create ripples that extend far beyond their reach. So if you want a future that pulls you, anchor it in eternity. Let your purpose be larger than your lifespan, stronger than your circumstances, and truer than the shifting winds of opinion. When you build on that foundation, your future will not only pull you forward, it will outlast you. Every great future is shaped not in sweeping moments of brilliance, but in the quiet, consistent choices made day by day. We tend to imagine destiny as a sudden breakthrough, a defining moment when everything changes. Yet in reality, destiny is the cumulative weight of countless decisions, many of which may feel small and inconsequential at the time. The power of intentional choices cannot be overstated because each one either aligns us with the future we desire or diverts us onto a path we never intended to travel. Consider the habits you cultivate, the voices you listen to, and the priorities you allow to shape your days. None of these are random. They are the bricks with which your future is built. If your daily choices lack intention, you are building blindly, leaving your future at the mercy of chance. But when each choice is measured against a greater vision, every step, however small, becomes significant. Even saying no to distractions or yes to disciplines that few will ever notice compounds over time into a direction that cannot be ignored. The danger lies in underestimating the weight of small decisions. No one wakes up one morning suddenly in the place of failure or regret. They arrive there through a series of tiny compromises, each one seemingly harmless on its own, but devastating in their accumulation. Likewise, no one arrives at greatness overnight. It is forged through steady acts of faithfulness that most people overlook. The future you create is hidden in the decisions you make when no one is watching. This is why intentionality matters so deeply. It forces you to pause before reacting, to evaluate not just what feels good now, but what leads to where you truly want to be. Intentional choices turn your life from a reactionary drift into a deliberate march. They may demand sacrifice, because to choose one thing often means rejecting another. Yet the discipline of aligning choices with vision is what separates those who live with purpose from those who merely exist. Furthermore, intentional choices have a multiplying effect. When you choose rightly once, it becomes easier to do so again. Integrity reinforces integrity. Discipline reinforces discipline. Over time, these decisions form habits, and habits form character. And character, in the end, is the truest compass of destiny. You do not rise to the level of your aspirations. You fall to the level of your choices. The beautiful truth is that no one is disqualified from this process. Regardless of where you start, every new choice has the power to redirect your course. You may not change your past, but you can absolutely choose the seeds you plant today. And in time, they will bear fruit that aligns with the future you desire. So if you seek a future that pulls you, examine your choices. Are they consistent with the vision you claim to hold? Because when vision and choice are aligned, momentum builds, and step by step, the future you long for begins to take shape. Fear has a way of paralyzing us. It whispers of dangers that may never come, magnifies obstacles beyond their true size, and convinces us that retreat is safer than progress. Yet if you are to create a future that pulls you, fear cannot be the engine driving your choices. Fear only limits, but faith expands. Faith is the fuel that allows us to step into what we cannot yet see, to move forward when the ground ahead is not fully visible, and to trust that the path will unfold as we walk it. Without faith, the unknown becomes unbearable. With faith, the unknown becomes an adventure pregnant with possibility. Faith does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how we face them. Where fear sees impossibility, faith sees opportunity. Where fear highlights the risk of loss, faith anticipates the reward of perseverance. Faith is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is rooted in confidence that there is meaning, order, and purpose beyond what our senses confirm. It strengthens us to endure seasons of waiting, to withstand voices of doubt, and to press forward when logic insists that progress is unlikely. The future is by definition uncertain, and that uncertainty will either enslave you to hesitation or empower you through trust. Those who live bound by fear often settle for the safety of the known, even if the known is far beneath their potential. They build lives around minimizing risk rather than maximizing purpose. But those who walk by faith embrace the uncertainty of the future, not as a threat, but as a canvas on which greater things can be painted. They step into arenas others avoid, and in doing so, they discover that provision, strength, and opportunity often appear only after the leap has been made. Also has a contagious quality. When you operate with faith, others are drawn to your courage. They see in you a confidence that rises above circumstances, and it awakens something within them. Fear isolates, but faith gathers. It inspires, it uplifts, and it creates movements larger than any one individual. History is filled with stories of men and women who did not have all the resources, who did not know how every detail would unfold, but who acted in faith. Their steps, small at first, became the foundation for legacies that endured generations. Choosing faith over fear does not mean ignoring reality. It means interpreting reality through the lens of trust rather than dread. It means acknowledging that risk exists, but believing that what lies ahead is worth it. Fear will always point you back to the familiar, but faith points you toward the extraordinary. So, if you want a future that pulls you, fuel it with faith. Let it be the energy that drives your steps, the light that guides your choices, and the force that steadies your heart when uncertainty looms. Faith will not remove every storm, but it will give you the courage to walk through them, knowing the future is worth it. We live in an age saturated with information. Never before has knowledge been so easily accessible, yet never before have people been so easily misled, distracted, and overwhelmed. The sheer flood of voices, opinions, and data can drown clarity and leave us paralyzed by options. Information in itself is not enough to guide a life, because information alone does not determine direction. It is wisdom that does. Wisdom is the ability to take truth and apply it rightly, to separate what is urgent from what is essential, and to discern the difference between what is merely good and what is ultimately best. Information fills the mind, but wisdom shapes the heart. The danger of relying on information alone is that it can be manipulated, twisted, or incomplete. People can gather facts endlessly, yet still make choices that sabotage their future, because facts without wisdom lack context. Wisdom is what orders information into patterns, aligning knowledge with purpose. It teaches us not only what we can do, but what we should do. Without wisdom, information can lead us astray, seducing us into paths that look promising, but end in futility. Wisdom is not acquired passively, it is pursued with humility and discipline. It often requires silence in a noisy world, reflection in a restless culture, and patience in a society addicted to immediacy. Wisdom listens before it speaks, observes before it judges, and seeks understanding before it acts. The wise person values depth over speed, substance over appearance, and long-term fruit over short-term gratification. While information inflates pride, making us believe we know more than we truly do, wisdom humbles, reminding us of our limitations and our dependence on truths greater than ourselves. When building a future that pulls you, wisdom is indispensable. It helps you discern which opportunities align with your vision and which are distractions dressed as progress. It prevents you from being enslaved to trends that fade as quickly as they appear. It equips you to see past the surface, to identify motives, and to evaluate the unseen consequences of choices. Wisdom guards you against shortcuts that promise quick results but undermine long-term impact. The difference between those who merely survive and those who thrive often comes down to the pursuit of wisdom. Many chase after knowledge for the sake of advantage, yet knowledge without wisdom can destroy. Wisdom, on the other hand, cultivates integrity, balance, and clarity that no amount of raw information can supply. It provides a framework for navigating uncertainty, for handling success without arrogance, and for enduring failure without despair. To create a future worth pursuing, you must become a seeker of wisdom. Ask better questions, not just gather more answers. Learn to weigh, to discern, to pause before acting. In doing so, your steps will not be wasted, your energy will not be squandered, and your vision will not be diluted by distractions. Information may tell you how the world works, but wisdom tells you how to walk in it. And when wisdom shapes your choices, your future will be both steady and enduring. The moment you set out to pursue a vision greater than yourself, you will encounter resistance. It is as certain as the sunrise. Resistance comes in many forms: external opposition, internal doubts, unforeseen setbacks, even subtle distractions that seem harmless but slowly drain your focus. Many interpret resistance as a sign they should stop, that perhaps the path is too difficult or not meant for them. But the truth is often the opposite. Resistance is evidence that you are moving in the right direction. If you are not advancing, you would not feel the pushback. Friction only arises when there is movement. Resistance is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It reveals what you truly value, tests the depth of your commitment, and forces you to develop resilience you would never have discovered in comfort. Easy paths rarely lead to meaningful destinations. It is the obstacles along the way that sharpen your resolve and prove the authenticity of your vision. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. Without resistance, vision would remain a fantasy, never forged into reality. What separates those who reach their future from those who abandon it is how they interpret resistance. Some see it as a closed door, a final verdict. Others see it as confirmation that they are on sacred ground, that what lies ahead is worth fighting for. Resistance does not mean you are defeated. It means your vision has begun to threaten the status quo. Comfort zones will beg you to return. Critics will try to undermine your courage, and fear will whisper that you are unqualified. Yet none of these voices have authority unless you give it to them. The greatest mistake is to confuse difficulty with impossibility. Just because something resists you does not mean it cannot be overcome. Resistance is often the very force that builds the strength required for the next stage of the journey. Like a muscle that grows through tension, your character is developed through the weight of obstacles. What feels unbearable today becomes the source of capacity tomorrow. Even more, resistance has the ability to clarify. It strips away distractions, revealing what truly matters. When everything is easy, you can afford to be casual. But when challenges mount, you are forced to focus, to prioritize, and to cling tightly to the core of your vision. In this way, resistance purifies your motives, ensuring that what drives you is not shallow ambition, but authentic conviction. So do not run from resistance. Expect it, embrace it, and let it work for you rather than against you. Every setback carries within it the seed of wisdom, every obstacle the opportunity for growth. The presence of resistance is not a reason to quit. It is a reminder that you are on a path worth pursuing. If you want a future that pulls you, recognize that resistance is part of the process. Endure it, learn from it, and allow it to strengthen you for the future that awaits. The measure of a future worth creating is not found solely in what you accomplish for yourself, but in what remains after you are gone. Legacy is the echo of your life that continues to resound long after your voice is silent. Too often, people chase success defined only by personal comfort, wealth, or recognition. Yet when time strips those things away, little is left to endure. A future that truly pulls you is one that looks beyond self, one that asks not only what you will achieve, but what you will leave behind for others. Legacy is not reserved for the wealthy, the powerful, or the famous. Every person leaves an imprint through their words, their actions, their relationships, and their example. The question is not whether you will leave a legacy, but what kind of legacy it will be. Will it inspire or discourage? Will it reflect selfish gain or selfless contribution? Will it point others to truth, or will it vanish with the shifting sands of time? The future worth pursuing is one that creates ripples that extend beyond your own lifetime, touching lives you may never meet. Living with legacy in mind changes the way you approach daily choices. Suddenly, integrity matters more than convenience. Sacrifice becomes acceptable because you understand that what you do today sets the stage for others tomorrow. Legacy-minded people endure resistance with greater patience because they know their perseverance will make the path clearer for those who follow. They live not only for their own story, but for the chapters their lives will inspire in the stories of others. The irony is that when you focus on leaving something beyond yourself, your own life gains deeper fulfillment. Self-centered pursuits often leave people empty, always craving more but never satisfied. But when your vision includes others, when you invest in lifting them higher, your life gains a richness that success alone cannot provide. Legacy gives meaning to sacrifice, value to hardship, and purpose to perseverance. It transforms ordinary actions into seeds of extraordinary impact. Consider that the most enduring legacies are rarely tied to possessions. They are tied to principles, values, and examples of courage or faith. Buildings crumble, wealth is spent, and achievements fade from memory, but truth lived out and passed on continues to inspire generations. The legacy you build is less about what you accumulate and more about who you become and who you help others become along the way. So if you want to create a future that pulls you, live with legacy in mind. Ask yourself daily, what will this choice leave behind? Will this investment of my time, my energy, my heart matter when I am no longer here? A life lived with such perspective is never wasted. In the end, the future that pulls you is not just your future. It is the future of those who come after you, shaped by the imprint you leave upon the world.